On a hot summer morning in 2015, less than a year after the Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, swept into power, a small church in central India awoke to find its doors charred black. The cross had been ripped down, hymn books burned, and the words "India is Hindu land" scrawled across the walls. For the worshippers, most of them from poor tribal and Dalit communities, the message was unmistakable. Their faith made them outsiders in their own country. Since the BJP rose to power in 2014, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has witnessed a dramatic surge in attacks against Christians. Once rare and localized, incidents of church desecration, beatings of pastors, and mob violence now appear in headlines with unsettling regularity. Behind much of this unrest is the growing influence of Hindu nationalist ideology, an ideology that insists India's true identity must be Hindu, leaving little space for religious minorities. From quiet persecution to open violence, Christians make up only about 2.3% of India's vast population, yet they have long lived peacefully alongside their Hindu neighbors, particularly in states with large tribal communities. This fragile coexistence began to fray as Hindu nationalist groups, emboldened by political support, launched campaigns accusing Christians of engaging in forced conversions. In practice, this accusation often serves as a pretext for violence. Village mobs have stormed prayer meetings, accusing attendees of betraying Hindu traditions. Pastors have been dragged from their pulpits, beaten in public squares, and arrested under so-called anti-conversion laws. These laws, which exist in several Indian states, criminalize religious conversions deemed to be carried out through fraud or allurement. Yet the definitions are so vague that even acts of charity or medical care provided by Christian organizations can be twisted into charges of coercion. The statistics only hint at the suffering on the ground. Reports of Christians being attacked doubled in the years following 2014. Churches have been vandalized, services disrupted, and congregations terrorized. In rural areas, entire Christian families have been driven from their villages. Children are mocked at school, neighbors are pressured to boycott Christian businesses, and police often side with aggressors rather than victims. Take the case of a small congregation in Uttar Pradesh. Their pastor, accused of converting villagers, was jailed without trial. The congregation scattered, too afraid to gather again. For them, the fear was not only of violence but also of being abandoned by the very institutions meant to protect them. At the heart of this escalation lies the ideology of Hindutva, the belief that India should be a nation defined by Hindu culture and identity. While Hinduism as a faith is broad and diverse, Hindutva as a political force is narrow and exclusionary. Groups aligned with this ideology have found new confidence under BJP rule, interpreting the government's silence, or at times its rhetoric, as tacit approval. Leaders of these groups openly call for India to be cleansed of Christian and Muslim influences. Campaigns like Ghar Wapsi, homecoming, encourage Christians to renounce their faith and return to Hinduism. When voluntary persuasion fails, coercion and intimidation often follow. The struggle for belonging. For many Christians, the pain goes beyond physical attacks. It cuts into the question of belonging. India's Christians are among its oldest communities, with traditions tracing back nearly 2 millennia to the arrival of St. Thomas the Apostle. Yet today, many feel like strangers in their own land, their loyalty to India constantly questioned. Still, resilience remains. Despite the dangers, small congregations continue to meet quietly in homes. Pastors keep preaching, even after being beaten. Women gather children to sing hymns softly, careful not to draw attention from hostile neighbors. Their faith, rather than being extinguished, grows stronger under fire. A silent exodus? There is growing concern that prolonged harassment could lead to a silent exodus of Christians from rural villages into cities, or even out of the country. In places where they remain, many are forced underground, practicing their faith in secret. This mirrors the struggles of religious minorities in other parts of the world. Yet it feels particularly jarring in a nation long celebrated as the world's largest democracy. A question for India's future. As the years pass, the question becomes sharper. What kind of India will emerge under the weight of rising intolerance? Will it be an India that honors its constitution, one that promises freedom of religion to every citizen? Or will it continue down a path where faith becomes a fault line, dividing neighbor from neighbor, and turning prayer into a punishable act? All Christians seek is freedom to practice their faith in India. Subscribe for more videos.